Good afternoon, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started since it's 4:07. Welcome to the July ESCR CAG meeting. Thank you for making the time to be here. And I will pass it over to Desiree to get us started. Hey, Desiree.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hold on one second. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Oops. Wait, hold on one second. Sorry, the application is. All right, hold on one second. Sorry, the Teams or the Zoom the Zoom window is going crazy. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. As Paula said, welcome to the Community Advisory Group meeting number 35. My name is Desiree Gazzo. I'm joined here today with members of the HNTB Lero Program Management Construction Management team, as well as members of the TDC team who are leading the construction of the ESCR project. So today we have several updates. As everyone is aware, for the project area overview, there are three contracts within the ESCR project: Project Area 1, Project Area 2, and Parallel Conveyance, which we will discuss tonight. The focus area topics for today's meeting is construction progress and approach, environment, hiring, compliance, community programming and coordination, and then we'll have questions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with the quarterly hiring update and hiring events. So Stephen from Bowie Studios is on the line. Stephen, if you'd like to take over and provide the update for hiring.
Sure. And you guys are able to hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. To go over the updates, just wanted to point out that this is reflective of data as of May 31st of this year. The last time we reported, it was in April, I believe. And so on a quarterly basis, we will update that information accordingly. Since the last update, we are now looking at 193 total staff on the PMTM team. This is the team who's overseeing the project. And as far as the breakdown is concerned, on the PA1 and PA2 side, it's a total of 68 new hires that we have seen since the beginning of the project. 9 of the new hires are working both on PA1 and PA2. So we ensure that those numbers are not double counted. That's why we pointed out here. As far as staff from the MWBE subs, we have 42% of the hires representative of those on the MWBE subcontractors. And then you will see you have the total minority, male and female breakdown that is on the PMCM team. And, you know, we always try to point out that the teams were selected based on the proposed qualifications. And so many of the staff that are existing or on the team currently do come from existing staff that was within each employer database prior to the project. Next slide, please. As far as the general contractor is concerned, we have both on PA1 and PA2 a total of 1,454 staff. And on the PA1 side, which is the larger piece of the project, we do see that the total staff is 854, with them coming in with an existing 510 team members. representative of close to 60% of the existing staff. Currently, for the new, as far as the new hires, 40% of the new hires are coming from, most of which are coming from the union halls, and then we have the MWBE new hires that is at 6.8%. Minority male and female breakdown is there for your view. As far as on the PA2 side, we are now to 600 total staff. Existing staff, they came in with 67% of existing staff, and then new hires account for 32, close to 33%. New hires on MWBE is at 4.2%. Next slide, please. With regards to the MWBE goal and the projection towards meeting those goals, right now we are looking to meet both on the PA1 and PA2 side. For the PMCM team, we're looking to meet the goal. And so as far as on the PA1 and PA2 MWBE goals, we're looking to exceed those goals as you see here. Section 3 hires, currently we are counting 5 new hires total for PMCM team, 8 new hires on PA1 and 1 new hire on PA2 as far as Section 3 hires are concerned. And this is a breakdown that was new in the last presentation. What we did here is break out the staff residency, showing distinguishing between new hires and union hires. And so as far as where folks are coming from, when we look at the total numbers, you'll see the existing, most of the existing team it's coming from the Long Island and New Jersey side, with a total of over 1,000 of existing team members who are working on the project. With regards to new hires are concerned, we are currently counting at 599 total, and you can see the breakdown accordingly as to where they're coming from. And then for you, with regards to union hires as well. And so this will give you a better sense of where folks are coming from, and it also helps us to do more targeted outreach, which we've been, or increase the targeted outreach in the Manhattan area according to the project. Ongoing efforts, we do continue to reach out to the labor unions to highlight and encourage that they do prioritize workers who are in the Lower East Side area. And so we are currently also receiving support from DDC and other agencies to ensure that that message is clear to everyone who support the project. We do also continue to have our quarterly information sessions and outreach sessions. We also have been increasing our tabling efforts in the Lower East Side area, currently partnered with Workforce One for 2 of those events. And again, we're trying to bolster the hiring practices and the outreach in that area by being more present. And we continue to do outreach via emails and updating the information on the website. And with regards to who we've been working with, Workforce One I mentioned, local CBOs such as Enriched Settlement, Goals, Lesson, and others. The NITREIS rep has been also keeping in close touch with us and also supportive of our tabling events, and have recently attended one of them. And again, we'll continue to partner with our local partners for future events as well to expand outreach and to make everyone aware of any type of hiring opportunities as well. As far as the breakdown for what it is that we are working towards, this information is also present on the Work With Us website. These are the goals that we're working towards for this project. And wanted to highlight the recent event. This was a DDC event held by DDC event, which was supported by multiple CBOs and even unions around the city. The Brooklyn Construction Career and Training Resource Fair, over 700 seekers responded to the outreach, registered for the outreach, and the actual event did not disappoint. In the beginning, there was somewhat of a conversation and a networking piece where the employers and representatives from unions got to inquire and ask questions and have a discussion about how we can improve systems in the local area to connect seekers to jobs and training opportunities. Once we were able to receive the flow of seekers who signed up, it again did not disappoint. We received and were able to have many conversations and resumes, that came through that day, representative of mostly folks who are in the construction industry, which was pleasing. And yeah, it was a great event, and we did have and saw many also folks from the lower east, the local area as well, who stopped by our table and inquired about jobs and opportunities. So more to come on any events in the future, but yeah, it was a great opportunity. Workforce One was there. Our contractor representative of the contractor and PMCM team was there, as well as other employers and training programs. And this is a slide showing some of our recent collaborations with Workforce One, both which we were located at different, we try to move around in the community to make sure that we are spreading love across the city and doing some outreach in various areas. More to come on future events. We do have one more event with Workforce One in August, and we'll be sure to make that information available in advance. The next slide.
I think that's it, Stephen. So
Okay.
Before we move on to construction updates, do you want to take questions for this portion, Paula?
Questions, updates?
Any questions from the CAD? I don't see any.
Okay. All right, we can keep going. Thanks so much, Stephen.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And Paula, we could send over, or we could add these slides to that ongoing PDF that we had prepared for you previously with the hiring, so that way the CAG has it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to our construction progress. We did send out the agenda. Again, we'll try to get it out earlier, but this just summarizes what we'll go over today. For the overview of contracts, much of the information here has not changed. We will provide an update on the fill operations today, so that's a new item on this page. There also have been more gates installed for project area 2, so that's another update that we'll talk about later in the presentation. So for 2023 construction activities, this pretty much similar work is happening in area 1, which is the closed portion of the park. We have the esplanade removal activities along the waterfront, and they're actually starting to reconstruct that, and we'll show you some photos in just a bit. The deep sewer activities are are kind of completing. And then the park drainage work is starting again. So the park drainage is the next kind of step in the utility work that's going to happen. For the flood wall and combi wall pre-drilling and installation is ongoing. And again, we have some photos of that. The fill material deliveries by barge will continue through the summer. At Delancey Street, they'll be working on the curb and sidewalk construction while the utility work is kind of on a pause. The construction for the new Corlears Hook Bridge is moving forward. And then we have some upcoming utility work that's ongoing. And then the flood wall activities at Montgomery and Cherry will pick up this year as well. In the open section of the park, work will continue at East Houston Street. Some test pile operations will take place again in the next month or so, and future pile installation. And then there's ongoing work at East 10th Street with the utilities there. And then as mentioned on the bulletin, there are ongoing partial FTR lane closures as work in and around the FTR moves forward. So for Delancey Street, tomorrow we'll be issuing an advisory on an extension of the sidewalk closure at Delancey Street. So for the next bit, there will be a closure now from or kind of from the FTR up to Baruch Drive. So the construction activities will extend that closure. The traffic and access into East River Housing parking lot will be maintained. However, the pedestrian detour is in effect. Originally, there were some signage that allowed folks to kind of cross those side streets there. So the signage has been removed so that the full pedestrian detour to Lewis Street is now in effect again. For the construction work sequencing, we did start to kind of bold some other areas here. So again, this is the cross section. We have kind of the inland activities and then the waterfront and esplanade activities. So installing the new combi wall and cap wall is progressing. And then again, the fill work, we have an update for that in just a bit. So we are moving forward. So I would just like to, we labeled some of the features on here that we hadn't labeled before because I'm going to show a photo in the next slide. So just to note the flood wall, which is going to be buried here, and then the bulkhead combi wall, which again will eventually come up, to grade here. And then just note the pier caps here, because then in the next photo, this is the current progress as of the end of last week, where we have, if you look to the left, you can see that buried flood wall, which we had in the section that is, now in place with the sheet piles. Then we have the construction that's ongoing here of the bulkhead combi wall. And then here are those pier caps that were in the rendering, which the esplanade kind of support the elements will go on top of the pier cap. So I'm just going to go back just so you can see again the progress that we are making. I know it's hard to tell when you're looking from far away, but again, I got to go on site on Thursday and walk and kind of really look at what's happening, and it was really amazing because I'm always looking at this section, and then to be on site and actually see all the pieces being built was pretty spectacular. So again, this is the pier cap where it is now, and then the esplanade will be built on top of those pier caps that they have there, and then that's the bulkhead combi wall. This is a couple of construction photos of the combi wall and cap wall. This is just the construction process of the combi wall. So you have the tube piles here, and then the sheet piles that connect the tube piles. And it's pretty amazing because the tube piles have just this little slot on the edge of them that the sheet piles slide right into, so they connect, which I think is amazing for these pieces that are so large that they just seamlessly fit into one another. So that happened. So they interlocked with each other to form this combi wall. And then the tube piles are filled with concrete and the rebar structural supports. And then the contractor they build these huge rebar box cages on site with all these rebar pieces. So they construct them and then place them over the piles. And that's the structural formwork for the cap wall. So then they place the forms very similar to how they have been constructing the flood wall with the wood forms that are placed, and then the concrete is poured to get that cap wall. And then these are the tiebacks, which we can talk about in another meeting. We'll talk about how that works. But it was just, really great to be able to see how they're just working down the esplanade, constructing that new bulkhead. So for the fill operations, again, the CAG submitted several questions on the fill operations. So we did send that back over today. Completely understandable if not everyone had a chance to read it. But the responses are there. I think there was just one that we have to come back to you on. Most of the responses we presented at the last CB3 presentation. So I have the link here. The responses to the letter will be posted on the inquiries page tomorrow. And then for the fill delivery update, they will continue starting next week again with several deliveries per day for the next 2 months. Excuse me. As per the letter that we sent back, if air quality or stormwater concerns are encountered, dust mitigations will be implemented. The contractor follows the SWIP protective measures, which we've talked about in the past, to prevent soil materials from leaving the site by using silt fence, hay bales, tarps, etc., as necessary. And again, there are many more responses in that letter. And again, in between this meeting and the next meeting, if there are any follow-up questions, we can certainly discuss them. So another item we wanted to talk about today was upcoming phase 2 Esplanade acceleration work. So we briefly mentioned it in the updating phasing slides that were presented, I think, a couple of months ago now. So for the ESCR status, again, the program is on schedule to finish by the end of 2026, and the team continues to evaluate the schedule and available work areas to ensure completion while maintaining the 42% open space access. And then as prioritization and acceleration opportunities arise, which we spoke about when we spoke about the updated phasing, and we'll talk about more in the next slide, the ESCR team does weigh the options in conjunction with potential impacts to park users, and then looks for solutions to mitigate impacts. So examples of past work prioritization and acceleration opportunities have been in phase 1 when the contractor switched to working north to south as a prioritization means. So to complete the deep sewer utility work first so that the fill operations could begin due to the period of settlement being unknown. An acceleration work item that the contractor moved forward with was the phase 2 ball field when they did the stone column installation and the sewer bypass. Again, so that was something that we temporarily moved into the phase 2 portion to complete something that would ultimately move the project forward, and again, help with maintaining that schedule. And then the new option that we have now, or the work element that we would like to move forward with, is the demolition of the Esplanade in phase 2. So we'll talk about it more in the next couple of slides, but for background, and I'll show photos also, basically the manufacturing of the the elements that sit on top of the pier caps relies on the surveying of the existing pier caps. So it'll be explained a little bit more in the next picture, and we could flip back to the section as well. But basically the pier caps that are there and then the support elements, those are all precast. So the contractor needs to survey the existing elements so that way they could manufacture these supports off-site and then bring them in and just place them on top. So the contractor and the team is proposing to close the phase 2 esplanade in stages to begin the demolition and the survey of the piers during the phase 1 work. And then again, to disrupt any circulation in the park, a kind of walkway would be installed to maintain circulation and access around the East River Park. And we'll go over that in the next couple of slides. So again, the accelerated reconstruction of the esplanade will prioritize the phase 2 fill operation. So by building up the esplanade, we'll be able to prioritize the phase 2 fill operations in that area. And again, delivering prefabricated esplanade pieces can be done via barge instead of fabricating all of these pieces on site. So it eliminates roughly 900 large truck deliveries of concrete off local roads and highways. So it is, something that would benefit work in the park and the local streets as well. So basically, these are the uneven pier caps that are existing now, which were unknown that they were all different sizes until the esplanade was removed. So the contractor has been, as they remove the esplanade, they have to go in and then level all the pier caps to be surveyed. And then once the pier caps are leveled, they have to survey each pier cap so that they can fabricate these esplanade support beams that sit on top of the pier caps here, which then the esplanade decking goes on top of. So by prefabricating the pieces, they get to manufacture them off-site and then bring them in by barge and then set them on top of the piers. So again, it reduces local traffic of having to, bring in concrete trucks to fabricate them on site. So it is a tedious process, and we are looking to get ahead of that. And the proposed plan, and this is subject to change, would be to work in phases starting towards the end of this year to temporarily close a portion of the esplanade and then construct a pedestrian access path along the existing recreation field fences. And then, again, keep the esplanade closed, but reopen the access path to then maintain, again, that circulation around the open areas of East River Park, allowing the contractor to start with the demolition of the esplanade, the leveling of all the piers, and then the surveying of all the piers so that they could make the drawings for those support beams. So this is the proposed plan as of right now. It is in the early stages. Again, this isn't happening until the end of the year. So we wanted to introduce this at this meeting since we don't have CB meetings for this month and next, and that we won't meet with the Community Board 3 again until September. And then, we'll either meet again next month for CAG or have give a written update. But again, so we wanted to introduce this early, receive, feedback and questions. So that way come October, we can, again, and come next month and September, we can discuss in more detail. So essentially, reach I and J would be the first reach to close. So the access here would close for about 4 to 6 weeks while this access path is being built, and then it would open up. And then once that area opens up, then the contractor would move on to reach H and then temporarily close that, build the pedestrian access path, excuse me. And then once that opens up, close the next portion, reach G, and then again, open that up. So while this work is happening, the contractor would put in some additional or open or put in some additional access in this area again, so that way there is additional means for circulation throughout the park. And then by the end of when all the temporary pedestrian paths are in, the area in reach F here would also open up, and then we would have full circulation in the park again. The Esplanade area would still be closed again because the demolition would be happening, but there would essentially be a complete circuit by, I guess, the beginning-ish of next year, and certainly before spring of next year. So we are working with Parks, who's also reviewing this proposal on this plan. And again, they have provided feedback, and we've been, again, working on this, and we'll bring more details, as we move forward in the next couple of months. And so again, we did want to bring that to you as early as possible. For what we've heard, for archaeology, the archaeological testing has been completed, and the mitigation plan was approved by all of the consulting parties, which includes permanent signage to be installed in the vicinity of the archaeological findings. So construction now will commence as planned in that area, and in accordance with the approved mitigation plan. Oh, oops, I'm sorry. I didn't put the link here. That was a placeholder. So the formal response to the CAG compost facility letter will be posted to the CAG page later. We weren't able to get it posted up before the meeting, so I'll edit that before we post it up tomorrow. But Parks has been maintaining regular communications with the Lower East Side Ecology Center throughout the project, which includes bi-weekly calls with the Parks Strategic Partnership Division. The schematic design is anticipated for the Lower East Side Ecology Center and CB3 review, as well as PDC preliminary review in the fall of this year. Per the PDC submission guidelines, the final review is required at about 90% completion, which is anticipated for spring of summer of 2024. With the design scheduled to be completed in mid-2024, construction of the compost yard will likely begin in mid-2025, with completion in alignment with the ESCR Project Area 1 at the end of 2026. So the letter does get into a bit more in the way of details. Again, if you could read the full letter, and if there are any follow-up questions, we could certainly take those, between this meeting and the next one. There were a few questions on tree and shrub maintenance. So the contractor is responsible for tree and plant maintenance, which includes watering and other items as well. The guarantee period is about 18 months for plants and 24 months for trees. And before the guarantee period is over, Parks will assess tree and plant health with the contractor, and replacements will be made as necessary. For tree sizes, the majority of the trees planted will be in the range of 2.5 to 3 inch caliber, which vary in height depending on the tree, for about 12 to 18 feet tall. And then the trees include a high proportion of like fast to medium growing trees, such as honey locust, dawn redwood, coffee tree, and others. And they are expected to grow between 13 to 24 inches per year. I also have a link to the 2020 design presentation, which has more information on the tree plantings. I know the locations were provided. I did go over to the park. I think it was off of Sixth Street, 10th Street to this morning, and take a look at the parks trees that were planted there. They did look around 3-inch caliper. I did take a quick measurement, but I didn't have, you have to use a special caliper measure to measure trees. So I'm going to circle back with parks and try and find out exactly what the caliper of those trees were there. But they do, parks typically plant about around 3-inch caliper trees as their street trees. So I would imagine that they are similar. I also wanted to take a look at and provide a few pictures of the Stuyvesant Cove and the Astor Levy Park trees to see, where they fall. So I know we just got that request in yesterday, but I did try and get out in the field to look at those trees. And so we'll provide more on those, after this meeting. I'm just looking at time. I think I'm just going to run through the rest and then we'll take questions at the end, if that's okay, Paula. I'll just run through these slides quick. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So for P8, what was that?
I said that sounds good.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so for PA2 construction progress, we're moving right along. Most of the work north of East 20th Street has been completed. We left a little pink area here at East 23rd Street, just due to the fact that there's one more gate that needs to be installed up there and a little finish work, but basically that intersection is open and working really well again. I'm sure all the residents there are very happy about that. And then much of the work is down below East 20th Street. So here you'll see these little pins with the black numbers are all of the gates that have been installed. And there are 3 more gates north of Murphy Brothers that should get installed this year. So soon we'll have all of them installed again north of Murphy Brothers playground there. So it's a really really exciting that so much of this project is under completion. Again, the Stuyvesant Cove Park Area 1 is open. Area 2 is scheduled to reopen this early fall, with the Greenway connecting to East River Park again opening, hopefully opening early this fall as well. There is on Thursday, July 27th, some overnight work, which will necessitate the closure of the FTR northbound exit 7 exit ramp and southbound Avenue C on ramp. Traffic on the FTR drive will be maintained, but we just wanted to make everyone aware of this. And the alternative exits and entrances are posted here, and they're also posted on the advisory. For the environmental reporting update, we did just want to note that the air quality on June 6th through 10th and 28th through 30th was impacted by the smoke drifts from the Canadian wildfires. Both of our, we don't have the same environmental team handling PA1 and PA2. They're different consultants, so they chose to handle that a little bit differently. So you'll see that in the upcoming reports. And just another note that clarifying what non-construction activities mean, and non-construction activities indicate weekend or overnights when the contractor was not working. So the PA1 AQM monitoring locations have not changed since the last presentation, as well as the PA2 AQM monitoring locations. For PA1, there has been a significant improvement as of last month. In much of the excuse me, northern portion of the area, there were very minor incidences. And then up in Montgomery Street to Jackson Street, where we have that combination of Project Area 1 and Pier 42 construction vehicles entering and exiting the site. There were, again, a few more exceedances, but I think we ended up being much better than last month, and the contractor is actively working on, wetting that construction entrance area down, and monitoring, who's the traffic in and out is. So that's ongoing. And then for project area 2, we have here, again, most of the exceedances for this month was in conjunction with those Canadian wildfires. And then there were some construction activities that did generate a few exceedances in the, with these monitors down here. We are looking into some of these a bit more. The readings just came into us this week, so we are working with the contractor to try and understand some of these a bit more. But we didn't want to hold back on releasing the data for this meeting. So if there are any more specific questions, again, we'll certainly work to look into this a bit more. For PC construction progress, most of the work is really happening at location 1, Jackson Street and Water Street. We have water main installation on Jackson Street between South and Water, test pit and water main installation on South Street between Jackson and Gouverneur Slip West, and then utility relocation on Water Street between Jackson and Gouverneur Slip East. There is a parking advisory out. And then just on Avenue C, we do have some test pit operations happening there. A few photos for parallel conveyance, which we haven't had very many of. So we have the material storage area on Jackson Street. We have some Con Ed utility relocation on Water Street. And this is the installation of the 12-inch water main at the intersection of Water and Jackson. And then this last picture is one of the machines that they use to do the field investigation to locate the existing sewers. And those are the slides that we have, or the updates that we have for you this evening. So I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Desiree. Martin Barrett has had his hand up for a few minutes. Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, well, tonight is our last concert of our series. We have the New York Police Jazz Band. It's been great having the area open. The rails that the gates are supposed to slide on or slide through were filled with asphalt. And so they can't slide.
Yes, so that's a temporary modification right now as they work through the design of creating something there that can, so that it's not a trip hazard, the rails. And the gates, since the flood protection isn't complete, the gates wouldn't be put into use until the flood protection is fully complete. So once the flood protection, the walls and the gates are complete, then at that point, the asphalt would have to be removed and the permanent kind of modification to remove that trip hazard would be in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. I'm not sure who is next. Sorry about that. So I'm just gonna say Christine.
Thank you. I wanna first, use some time to just talk about the compost yard, and like to thank Desiree and Jeff in pulling this letter together. I really, on behalf of the Ecology Center, we appreciate the update that you gave us. And the one point that I would like to make is that as much as we've been in contact with the Parks Department on bi-weekly meetings, what was really missing is updates from the design team in terms of really the progress of the design. We know now that the design team will start doing work, and I would just reiterate that as an organization with 20 years of experience operating compost facilities and also working both with DSNY and with W Architects to in the design of compost facilities, we should really be involved in that design process. And what we're really asking is like monthly check-ins with DDC, with the design team to just discuss stuff. And that's where I want to stop. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Christine. And I'm not sure what the details are specifically, but we can certainly bring that back to the the team that's working on the design. Thank you.
Wendy.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. My questions, first, I want to say experience matters and that I do hope the team will welcome Lower East Side Ecology Center because they're also not only, they have the experience, but they're going to be the ongoing operators. So to me, that's very important. Not sure where my camera is, sorry. If there are, you know, you talked a lot about the concrete that's being pumped in, the cap heads, the pier tops. There's so much. Were any climate measures taken, such as using fly ash in any of the concrete that's being used in the park?
Wendy, I would have to go back and check the components of the concrete. I do not have that information on hand, but if you would like to submit a formal question, I can, I mean, or if that is the question, then we could certainly take that back and I could look into that.
Yeah, you know, it's one of the most materials that generate the most CO2 in production. And I understand it has what its purpose is here, but I also have heard that there's mitigating that, there's a way to mitigate the impact. So I'm just curious. So it'd be nice to know. You showed us a temporary esplanade that looked like it was one person wide. And do you know the width of this temporary esplanade?
It would be about 8 feet.
8
The
feet.
minimum would be
8
there's
feet.
just a person there.
So that's for
illustrative purposes.
It would be,
it's to facilitate, people both ways.
I don't know if you've been out there, but it's packed out there at this point. And, you know, there's 8 people going at once in different directions. I don't know how that's really going to serve the community if it's too tight for people to go to pass each other or walk together. It's going to be like scuttling through a little rat maze. And I don't know if that's the feeling you want people to get for the next period of time, but it just seems very, very poorly planned for how, if you're saying the park is open, you know, that's hardly open. And I encourage that temporary esplanade to be wider. So, and I want to point out, you say it's going to go all the way around, but right now it's 6th Street. Yes, 2 days ago, I counted 41 vehicles parked there that belong to people working on site. Will all those cars be moved elsewhere? I also could see there are lots of cars south of Stanton, but are you moving the privately owned vehicles off the Greenway entirely for this period?
So again, the details are still being worked out for how the materials are going to be staged, how the materials are going to be delivered and worked throughout the site. We do understand the importance of circulation in the park, but we also do want to move the project forward. Again, keeping it on schedule, throughout construction. In 2024, the lower areas of the park will start to open, the new areas, so that will open up other opportunities. And then moving into 2025, more of the northern part will close, and then the southern part will open, and we'll kind of have that, flip-flop of use of amenities. Again, we are trying to strike a compromise of keeping areas open and accessible and have that access while, allowing the construction to progress forward, especially with the Esplanade, which is a big lift. Again, so we are trying to balance everything and open up areas as much as possible, again, to allow for that circulation. There was understanding that the park is still used quite a bit in the fall and winter. We wanted to push this still into the fall and winter when it is lower than the use that's in the summer and spring months. So there's kind of conscious decisions being made, while understanding that there is only so much room in between the area that needs to be demolished, which is the majority of the Esplanade, and then the area where the existing recreational field fences are, to not impact the recreational amenities. So we are trying to strike that balance there of both. But
Yeah.
again, we do thank you for the feedback, and we are,
Well, I have a
kind of
little-
bringing that back.
I have a little bit more and I realize you're probably cutting down all the trees along the temporary esplanade. And like you did where they made the temporary road at Stanton Street, where it just asphalted over the green space. And it was very uneven, became a big trip hazard. And I know you'll be more conscious in that. But on this image right here, on the north end of the track that shows a little green area that's currently fenced off and full. It's not full. There's hardly any equipment in there. There's a couple of storage sheds. There's a big bag of helmets laying on the ground. It's a kind of a fallow area that will be shaded. Is there any way that grass could be mown and people use those areas as long as the park keeps shrinking? If you're going to count it as part of the 42% open, it should be open.
I could take that back. I'm not exactly sure, specifically what the area is being used for, but I can certainly take that back and see if that area could be, accessible.
Okay, now I had just a couple of things. It would be great to have a coal bucket in the Grove by 6th Street Bridge that's heavily used now for picnicking. You've already said no to picnic tables, but I do see ashes being dumped here and there close to those trees. It would be really sad to have a fire there. People are not going to walk all the way to the far end of the track to take their ashes when they've got a full hibachi or whatever. And lastly, over the last couple months, I've asked about the width of the future bike lanes, and you've sent me some information. And from what I could see, 12 feet seems to be the width for the two-way bike lane that's replacing the former greenway that was about 20 feet wide and busy all the time. So I would love to have a real view of that bike lane so we can see where it goes through the park. We've never really seen how does it cross at Houston? How does it go from one end of the park to the other? And I think a lot of people who were used to using that greenway for commuting, etc., would be very happy to know more about what the plan is.
Sure, we can bring that back. We've, done snapshots of certain areas of the park, so we could certainly focus on that for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Trevor?
Let's go on to the next people who had their hands up for a bit. So
I'm
Diane,
sorry, it was Diane, sorry, Diane, then Trevor, sorry about that, but yeah, I wanted to move on. But when
Sure.
you have additional questions, please, we can talk about it at the CAG portion.
Hey, Desiree. So I just wanted to get some more clarification on a couple of the questions that Wendy raised. So this schedule is much more aggressive than the one that you showed us previously, right? The one that you showed us previously said this Esplanade change would start in early summer 2024. So is there a construction reason for starting this early, or is this mostly being driven by the idea that they want this temporary path open by spring?
Yeah, so I think we were still working out the details of what the Esplanade closure would be and working through that. And then there was kind of a conscious decision that of when the park is used most. Again, completely understand that it is used significantly through the winter months, but again, when it is used most. And so yes, to have everything kind of set up by the spring.
Okay, well, I think the preference from the community would be to put this off as long as construction possible. Because I completely agree with Wendy that an 8-foot path is going to be a challenge for most people. Right now, we have multiple people walking on the Esplanade. We've got people riding bikes. I've been down to the ESCR area where they've had to narrow the Esplanade in order to, fence off the area for construction. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty used to running at the waterfront. I've been lived here for decades. I don't feel safe anymore because it's very narrow and the cyclists are just zooming by and dipping into the other lane and doing all kinds of, maneuvering to maintain their speed while pedestrians are walking more slowly. And I'm very concerned about this approach here. So I think that is a piece of feedback that, I'd like to have you take back is it seems like this would be inviting trouble to try to put, or it'd be hard to keep the cyclists out. They're not even supposed to really ride on the Esplanade, but they do. And so I'm concerned about that. And then, as Wendy said, just understanding the space as well as we do, it seems like the only way to make this pedestrian access path would be to demolish the planting beds that are immediately adjacent to the Esplanade and to take down the trees that are there to create this 8-foot space. And I'm also assuming that for this new construction fence here over the piece on the right, that would not just be a chain link fence, but it would actually have construction netting on it. So you'd kind of be running in this, inside of a bowl. Do you have any details on any of that?
Yep, so there would be some clearing and grubbing, as you both mentioned, right along the existing recreational field fence for the pedestrian access path. Again, these are trees, plant materials, and beds that are coming out, within the next, year of when, they would be removed for the ultimate reconstruction of the park. And then the new construction fence, right, it would be chain link. And then I think our thought was that if there is active construction adjacent to the pedestrian access path, so there won't necessarily be active demolition throughout, the full time this is happening. There will be demolition in certain stages, and then certain areas is just, again, low kind of low impact construction work when they do the leveling of the piers, etc., surveying and that. So again, if there is construction work adjacent to the pedestrian access path that would, that you'd want to have the construction fencing up, then it would be up then. However, I think when when the high demolition is over, then it would be to remove the construction fence, so that way there is access to the waterfront.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know I've said this before in writing and in these meetings, but this is the loss of an amenity. I appreciate the fact that they're trying, you guys have come to understand how important circulation is in this park. But as a person who does not use the ball fields, uses the track only minimally, this Esplanade is the amenity for me. This is why I go to the park. And the loss of this is the loss of an amenity. And the replacement with a blacktop path, I can live with the blacktop, it's not that, but this 8-foot wide path and being behind, construction netting and everything, this is a very big deal to me, and I think to many others, members of the community, as will be the permanent loss, until construction is completed, of any waterfront seating or ability to sit by the water. And so I, again, would encourage you to, put this off as long as possible within the constraints of construction, because this, it's going to be a long time without that amenity. And it is, even if 42% of the park is open, it's still the loss of a major and much used and much loved amenity. So thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Trevor?
I know we're running a little short on time, so I'll try and be brief. we had talked about doing a tour of PA1 a little while back. I know I missed a couple of meetings. I don't know if that was ever done. I know we're approaching August and then September, but I think it'd be useful if we can organize a tour for the CAT group sometime within the next 60 days. Might be useful. And whoever can go, can go. I mean, if we can propose some dates, I think they'd be very useful. I hear your enthusiasm for the construction portion of it, which is great because I'm also a bit of a construction nerd, but I'd like to be able to see this, like I did one for the other section, but I think if we can organize one for this section, it'd be useful for folks. The other thing is, I don't know if filming or documentation is being done by DDC. I hope so, considering the historical significance of this. Not that this is going to wind up on the Discovery Channel anytime, but I think it'd be useful because you're explaining a lot of things that folks would like to know who aren't part of the CAG meeting. That would be useful. The other thing with regards to the Esplanade work, I will say I'd like to see it be done as soon as possible. I understand the challenges, but I think getting this work done during the winter months is fairly crucial. There are some Little League teams and some local Little League teams that use that field, including some local high schools who play football there, who don't have a lot of open space. But my understanding from looking at this is that unless you encroach on the fields, you can't go any further towards the Esplanade because the Esplanade is going to be completely demolished, correct? So 8 feet, you might be able to take some field area from some fences, but you can't go any further towards the East River. That's correct?
There wouldn't be an impact to any of the field because there is such a significant area between the Esplanade and the field fence. That is either they're like seating areas or there's planting beds. There is enough room. The field fences, the existing fences would only have to be modified, I think, in 2 locations to be able to fit the 8-foot access path. So the field would not be impacted.
And in understanding this map here, will the entire Esplanade be closed, or is it closing in sections, or is it the entire walkway the entire Esplanade will be closed, or is the Esplanade open in certain sections? Because it says like state,
yeah.
It says
so
reach G and G, Esplanade open, and then reach H is closed, but reach G it's open. So I'm assuming this is happening in phases, so the Esplanade is not completely closed.
At the end of it, so at stage 4, when we're in, stage 4, which is, what was the date? I think February of next year. By February of next year, approximately, then the full Esplanade would be closed, but it would close in stages.
So from October through January, parts of the Esplanade would be open.
Correct.
And then it closes in February for the entire.
Yeah, well, January, February is when Reach G closes. So starting in approximately, again, depending on when they start work, January would close Reach G to build the pedestrian access path. And then the access path would open, but the Esplanade would be closed for demolition.
Okay, thank you.
But it doesn't all close at once. It closes in stages.
Thanks.
Oh, and then, sorry, Trevor, just to the point of the documentation, the DDC has a photographer that has been, photographing the site throughout the progress for both Project Area 1, Project Area 2, and I believe PC. But then we have a mixture of photos on the website as well. And then, beyond that, we'd have to find out from DDC if anything else is planned.
Christine.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to make some comments about the slide that's up now, and yeah, a better way maybe to say it is once Reach J and I are closed, they're closed until the Esplanade is rebuilt. But I would echo what Diane and Wendy have talked about, and that's the real loss of an amenity. It's seating that's we are losing. I've been down in the area where we have now this shared bike and pedestrian walkway, and there's no way to sit down any place. So it's great for people that want to just jog or ride their bike, but if somebody comes to the waterfront to sit down, they can't do that, and they won't be able to do that from 10th Street all the way to Houston in East River Park anymore either, once this all closes. And it will be horrible to look at a construction fence with netting instead of the esplanade. Let's face it, that netting is going to stay up. At least that's what I would like to, think will happen. And what I really think is missing in this presentation today is last month you presented opening the certain reaches further south, and then saying, and because we want to close the esplanade up north, and now you have basically accelerated the closing of the esplanade without telling us what you will open in the southern portion to really make up for that lost space. And my last comment is getting public access to a plaque-topped area along the highway is no replacement for destroying the esplanade in that section, in the northern section. It's really totally diminishing any sort of experience of being in a park that we still have when we go to East River. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. So just quickly, and again, we could work to answer some of these questions between, in the coming week. But the opening and closing of the park does still remain the same as far as the areas and the 42%. We're still on the same phasing approach that we presented at the last meeting. And it still works out to 42% open space.
So
we can certainly incorporate that with this to show the full update with this.
I'm sorry, I just have to really ask that. So you will close the esplanade up north in 23, and then we just all hope that you will make good on your promise to open the southern portion in East River Park in 24.
Correct. Right. We're still on the same. We're not closing any field amenities in phase 2. It is the esplanade.
Well, yes, but I think and this is the last thing I will say, but I hear what you're saying about field amenities, but this park has more amenities than the fields. The fields are a great part of this park, but there are other things that I would argue more people use the esplanade than the fields, if you really sum it up, where people spend their time in this park.
Yes, we 100% understand that. And again, that's why we're trying to work in the phasing and the different kind of approaches here for this. But again, we'll take all these comments back. This is the first time we're presenting it. Again, this isn't anticipated to happen until towards the end of the year. So there's, lots of time in between now and then. We do have to get going though. So I would say, I know Damaris didn't ask any questions yet, but if any other questions can be brought back to us, that would be helpful, Paula or Tara.
Okay, so do you have time for Damaris' question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question. Go for it, Damaris.
Hi, I'll try to be really quick. A few comments to just agree with some of my fellow CAG members. One, I do think that 8 feet is not wide enough. I am concerned about possible collisions and with cyclists, and I think that it is an unfair predicament to put our community in, where we're going to be putting, like pedestrian pedestrians and cyclists and their safe and putting their safety at risk. So I would really encourage you all to do everything in your power to widen that and to help us mitigate any future accidents and safety concerns, because I think that's a big issue. Number two, I get the whole idea, 42% of the park, and we really truly appreciate it. But, again, it's not equal access to all users. And so for me, the only thing that I do in that park is to walk, because I don't play ball. It's just what I don't do. So I would just say that, as much as possible, if there's a way to go back and look at this and ensure that if there are certain parts of the Esplanade that are being taken, offline, which I, really wish we wouldn't, that we would still be replacing the ability for pedestrians to maneuver their way around the park and not just ball players to be able to go in. And this is not like an attack on the ball players. I'm just saying that everybody has equal access, that should have equal access and equal right to use the park amenities. The other thing is, I have to say that I'm really surprised to hear from Christine that they were not included in the design for the composting. And I really want to encourage the city to put their concerns and their ideas up front and center. I think, it just doesn't make sense for an issue that they've been working on, that they will likely be involved in, to not have any real input. And if I have that wrong and I misheard, I apologize, but that's what I understood. And then my last question, really quick, is because I think somewhere along the line, I must have missed this, is in response to the archaeological finds. And so I heard you say that there's going to be signage and other things, and if there's a way to look offline, even, I'd be interested to understand, like, who is overseeing that and what role do we as community members have in any of that, and how that's going to be, I guess, accessible to us in the future via signage, display, etc. So.
Okay, yep, thank you so much. And so working backwards, the archaeology information, we did go over some of it in a bit of more detail in previous CAG meetings, but not that specifically. So I will take that question back and then provide, more detailed information about the steps moving forward to Paula and Tara to share. And then we could talk about that in more detail at another meeting. But we'll get that to you. In regards to, what was the second item? The width of the walkway, and that we completely understand, and we'll bring those comments back. And then what was the second one? The compost. Yes, the design of the compost has not yet started. Lower East Side Ecology Center and Christine has provided input regarding the programming and the elements of that. So that those conversations have happened. And then Christine did make a comment as to what the coordination and collaboration would be moving forward. So I will take that back and get more details on that in response.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Desiree and team and Stephen.
Great, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's start this CAG only conversation, and I'm gonna actually, Michael, I don't know if you're back.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I saw in the chat that you have some information to add about the archaeology stuff.
Yeah, so we, Friends of Corlears Hook Park, had actually petitioned to be named as a consulting party to the archaeology work, and so we were. So that means that we kept abreast of everything, and we were given the final report to review and make comment on before construction proceeded. So we basically agreed with, and Lesby was also on as a consulting party as well. And we're actually meeting with them tomorrow, with Lesby tomorrow, because Lesby did submit a slew of suggestions that we supported that were basically all shot down or given a reason why they couldn't do it. I'm not 100% sure if I'm allowed to share the reports that we were given, so I need to confirm that before I can say that I can send it to anybody. But basically the gist of it is that what we asked for and what Lesby had asked for was not only signage, but also some sort of display area, display case, or an area in the comfort station where artifacts could be viewed. They had also asked for the possibility of, instead of all of the foundations and whatnot that were found being just buried again in fill, for some sort of clear, like plexiglass kind of thing to be put over them so that they could still be viewed by the public, even, you know, underground. And that was shut down. I can understand why that was shut down. But it looks like the only thing that the city is willing to do is some sort of signage, which, you know, it remains to be seen what that might look like. But I will, between now and the next CAG meeting, which I guess isn't until September, see if I'm allowed to share these reports. And if I am, I will send them to Pratt. Damaris,
Thank
you
you,
have that?
Michael.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got back a little late, so I missed part of Michael's update. But I got that it doesn't look like there is a willingness to invest any resources in anything other than perhaps some signage. And I didn't get anything else. So
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, basically, quickly,
and I'm okay to talk about it offline if
Yeah.
other people don't want to hear it again.
Yeah, you know how to reach, you know how to reach me, so just email me.
Okay, thank you.
Io.
Io,
Io, are you there?
I am here and I was on mute deliberately, in case you think I did that by mistake. Okay, now, I am not, it is not acceptable to me that the reports not be shared. I appreciate your, you know, saying that you're not sure, but this is public information. And it is public information that is supposed to inform the development of a public site. So if you can just be sure in the future, as I am right now, that that information is supposed to be public, then I would appreciate it. And also, it is not acceptable to me. I don't know all of the things that Lesby asked for, but as a member of this CAG, it will not be acceptable to me that the historical and archaeological finds are not demonstrated in some substantial way in the East River Park, as the Lenape and other people of Native descent were here before all of us. And, you know, to have the opportunity to undo some of the mishistory that this city has engaged in as it relates to people of color will not work. It just will not work. And unless there is anybody in this meeting that disagrees with this assessment, then I want this to be shared with everybody involved in decision-making with this project. You know, a little tiny plastic sign is not enough. It's not enough. And we all understand the reasons why. Additionally, the archaeological digs and testing that occurred, I would like to know what the results were. So for example, when archaeological digs were done for the New York African Burial Ground, which is now a national monument, all kinds of things were found. Remains were found, artifacts were found, and other things. And if that is the case, then I would like to know where they are and what kind of research, who they will be handed over to, and what kind of research will be done on them. So that's all I have to say about this issue. But if there is anybody who disagrees with either any of the things that I've said, A, plastic signage is not enough. It should be substantial. And B, that whatever the findings were from the archaeological test or diggings should be shared with us. And any remains or artifacts should be turned over to the appropriate agency or organization in order to do research. That could also be reflected perhaps later on, ultimately on the site. That's it for me. Except that I don't hear any disagreement. Thank you.
We'll look further. I mean, Mike will find out, but if he's not able to release it, we will submit a request to get it directly from DDC. And then once everyone gets, I think the next steps, everyone can look at the results and we can figure out how we all want to collectively as a CAG respond as far as the next steps. You know, what would be desired as far as additional acknowledgement, and then yeah, what are they doing with what they've found and how are they treating all of those materials?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, I guess there's a lot more to it, Paula, as well. But you know, turning it over to the appropriate entity and doing the research, and then publishing the finding, and then reflecting that at the site. So, thank you.
Maggie, I don't see any other hands up.
One thing I wanted to bring up, I know we turned over the response to the Lower East Side Ecology Center letter to you all this afternoon, since that's when we received it. And I'm not sure if you all had a chance to review it. I know it was rather thorough. However, what was requested was a meeting. So I wanted to kind of give an opportunity, I see Christine, your hands raised, to get a sense of, you know, do you find the response to be sufficient? What would you like as far as next steps? You know, since they didn't really, and we, as I mentioned, we really requested a meeting, and they, you know, while they came back with a thorough response, it doesn't seem like they have made any steps towards actually setting that up. So we would like to see if we need further response or further to their letter to move that forward. So Christine.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like, as I mentioned in the public session, I would really like engagement with DDC. This sort of hiding behind the fact that we have biweekly check-ins with parks where Lindsay always says, I have no updates for you about the compost yard. So that's not helpful. I'm also surprised they haven't done any design work because the letter from Deputy Mayor Josie came out over a year ago, basically saying we're going to do that during ESCR. So yeah, I think there is more to be done, and I would really love to have monthly check-ins with DDC where we just discuss the compost yard and the progress in design, going through this exercise, if you will, with DSNY to develop the temporary composting facility in Canarsie. If nothing else, we learned there's a lot of detail that really needs to be worked on. And previous, we were also involved in the W architecture design work. So it makes no sense for us not to be involved and just to get something presented. And then we have a whole bunch of suggestions that might or might not be incorporated. So yeah, I think it's really important. And of course, the other piece is also the fireboat house, where we still have lots of questions. What's going to happen? How ready and how much work will DDC do, and how much other work is left to be done by parks for us to really go back to a highly functioning building. So there's lots of reasons why we really need to have that ongoing conversation with DDC, and it's just not forthcoming. It's been like this promise that they will in public meetings, and then just nothing happens.
Okay. So we will go back to DDC directly. I would like to ask everyone to maybe just hold tight. We may draft just another quick letter specifically requesting that there be monthly meetings moving forward, that we'd want to get out rather quickly. But since we've already opened the lines of communication, we do want to just go back to DDC directly and say, great, thanks for the response, but this wasn't what we had asked for. And then see what we could do about negotiating, getting monthly meetings on the table, but it may require another CAG letter. But we'd like to try to, in the spirit of trying to move this forward more quickly, we would like to do that. Trevor?
I just want to be clear about that request. Are we saying that we want to meet as CAG with the Lower East Side Ecology Center? Or are we saying we want the CAG group to meet with these same folks? I'm just not sure what we're asking for.
We were asking that we, on behalf of LESEC, that they have meetings with parks, sanitation, the mayor's office, as well as DDC to discuss their concerns. We really just made it a very general request letter. And they came back with that very detailed response that gave us everything but an actual meeting date. So it would not be a meeting with CAG members, it would be a meeting with LESEC, but now we would go back and we'll go back to them directly, but we may draft another letter on behalf of the CAG making a more formal request again, but we'd rather not do that and just try to get some meetings on the calendar moving forward, since we already have the lines of communication.
Understood. I think one way, because it was effective when we did bring them to CB3, is to get these same folks to come to a CAG meeting. I know we're not meeting till September, and we only have an hour initially, so it tightens up things a bit with the updates. But perhaps if we could arrange for them to come within the next 3 to 4 months to basically give us a summary of what's going on, that might be helpful.
Well, Trevor, I'm sorry, but what I really want is a working meeting with the design team, to go over the design, that they show what they have, that we give them feedback on it. We've done this twice already with designers to come up with design for a compost facility, and we are very capable and willing to do that again. I don't want a meeting to just present what they have or have not done. I want a working relationship with the design team to come up with a good product that at the end of the day, we will operate.
No, I understand that. I just think that for clarification for the CAG group, because I think we get different information at the meetings, that we'd like to meet with them also.
Might I ask a question?
I
Sure.
think Diana's in front of you, but go ahead.
I see her beside me.
That's okay. I actually want Damaris here and she stepped away. So take it away, Io.
Yeah, Christine, I was actually going to ask a similar question to that of Trevor's. And I hear exactly what you're saying. You want to get work done, but I'm wondering if it might make sense to have some nonverbal participants from the CAG at that meeting. You know, I mean, to me, you know, you're the expert, you know, your organization is the expert in this area and has the history to prove it. So your input, you know, is definitely going to be extremely important. But I'm wondering if I also think that having 2 meetings is like crazy, because I agree with Trevor. So I'm wondering if there could be if it would be okay with you, and then certainly would go with whatever you decide.
Sorry.
If there could be some nonverbal members of the CAG at your meeting. And if that doesn't work for you, I totally understand.
No, you know, I don't see a problem with that. It's, you know, again, you know, it will be really working meetings with a lot of sort of hopefully technical discussions about what we want to accomplish and how to make it work. But I don't see a problem with people observing these meetings.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Observing and learning, and then also being able to go away and understanding what was kind of decided, as opposed to hearing a possibly slightly different version later on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's
All
fine.
right. Thank you.
Diane?
Wow, perfect timing. Damaris just came back. So I'm going to change the subject, Christina, if that's okay. I just wanted to go back to the Esplanade conversation for a minute. So I really appreciated the way that Damaris framed the issue with the Esplanade, which is that by choosing to remove an entire amenity, the city and, you know, the construction team are basically pitting different types of park users against each other and saying, you know, we are prioritizing the ball fields, you know, over the pedestrians. And we'll try to figure something out for the pedestrians. But, you know, I think we were loud and clear about the concerns that we have in areas where an approach like that has already been implemented. So I know that we are not having a CB3 Parks meeting until September, and we're not meeting in CAG again until September. And so my concern is that these plans will advance, you know, in the background with parks and with the construction team, but we won't know about it. I'm sure that we have a spectrum of perspectives and opinions on the CAG. Trevor, I know you said I'd like this to happen as soon as possible. You know, as an Esplanade user, I'm saying, wait, don't do it. You know, so obviously we kind of need to work out where the CAG stands on this, but I would encourage us to do that quickly and to have, you know, some common ground on this issue, where we can have Paula and Tara stay in touch and make sure that we get information in a timely way, so that they don't come back in September with a fait accompli that says, in 3 weeks, we are starting to tear down this Esplanade. I think that would be, that kind of is not what the CAG is here for. It's just to receive that news. I think that we should be participants in, you know, understanding how this is unfolding, what the pros and cons are, and, you know, what any other options might be.
Yeah, I think it's important not to jump in, but, you know, I also want to say, of course, you know, Paula will always say, well, we can't hold up the construction progress, and nobody, I think, wants to do that. But I think I also think that again, this time we were just confronted with a whole new set of realities, and then Desiree saying, "Oh, we have so much time. It's only October. It's going to happen in October," which of course is the, which is not accurate to say, because October is basically around the corner if you look at our schedule over the summer, and also not understanding what really will happen in the southern part, because when they first came up with this proposal, they said, we're going to open up reach, I can't say it off the top of my head, but almost the entire park from almost Delancey Street all the way down. And now we didn't see any of these details anymore. All we saw is an accelerated closure of the esplanade in the part of the park that's still open. And I would argue if we lose that esplanade in the northern part, we don't have a park left there really to speak of. We have some ball fields left, which is, it is what it is, but it's not a waterfront park that's left.
Yes, thank you. I think that's the other point, is that, I too am concerned that they will go ahead and close the esplanade. And then later on, after that's all been, torn down and pedestrians have very limited, access in the northern end of the park, they'll say, "Oh, we're so sorry, but there's a delay in opening the south end." And it was initially framed as a trade-off. And I feel like it's moving away from that. And I'm also a little bit concerned about the fact that this was framed as a decision of convenience to do it in the winter when people aren't using the esplanade, rather than a decision to get it done just in time to facilitate the construction that needs to happen. So I'd like to follow up on those 2 points as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ayana? Ayana, Harrington.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, am I on? I'm sorry, I'm not talking. I'm gonna mute
Okay.
myself, sorry.
Okay.
Wendy?
I was actually thinking it would be interesting to look at possibly taking down some of those ball field fences. The players are all the way at the far corners of the biggest field, and there's always people walking and there's dogs playing. Maybe we need to help them rethink those as more multi-purpose spaces. I'm very concerned also about the runners in the community who are sometimes like 3 and 4 abreast and on that esplanade. Where are they going to go? And we have had absolutely no mitigation for runners, dog walkers, people with pets. There's Tompkins is closed. Will they open Pier 42, and will that take some of the pressure off? Can we make that a demand that they hurry that up? I don't know. It's really going to be hard for people, I think. And I also wanted to say, Michael, I think you said you were consulting partner on Corlears and the archaeology. Wouldn't Lower East Side Ecology Center be a consulting partner to the compost yard design? Last month, there were only a few of us at the end of the meeting, but we did talk about trying to meet with the 3 council members. And I don't know if any more got done towards that or any discussion. There weren't enough of us in the room to really talk about it, but we've not had an update with them at all. At all. So that's the end of my points. Thank you.
Trevor? Or Damaris, were you first?
I think it was me, but I mean, if Trevor needs to go, he can.
Okay.
Damaris, you were in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I think I just thank you, Trevor. I think I just look, there's always going to be trade-offs. I'm really glad that Diane, mentioned that. And, we're not going to have everything we want all of the time, right? Because we're moving towards something. We all want this project to move forward as quickly as possible. But at the same time, we are giving up a lot. And in that process, the least that I think this CAG is asking for is the ability to be consulted and to have input before they make decisions. And what continues to happen is that they come to us. The time that they spend, they come to us after the fact. So the time that they spend planning with themselves, then they have to come to us to show it to us. And then they change very little if they take any of our feedback at that point, because now the timeline is different or whatever have you, whatever the rationale is at the moment. And so, I'm just wondering, like, what is, if we were able to take an assessment of where we are, and can we reset the clock on some of these things in terms of, like, having the ability to weigh in before we're at the tail end of a deadline, because construction is going to start and now no changes can be made, because otherwise I don't really know what we're doing. If all we are doing is, if all we are is a body for, the ESCR folks to, sound off to and give us info. I mean, if my job on this CAG is to have my ears open and then to go back and report, I mean, that's one thing. I thought my job on this CAG was to not only be the eyes and the ears of the community, but to also be a representative of folks and be able to weigh in a way that I believe is representative of what people want to see happen. So when you take that agency away from us, then this entire process is an exercise in futility, if you ask me. And I will say that on the record. So I feel like we've got to really rethink this. And I'm sorry for all my, folks that, I too want to see this thing move quickly. I'm not trying to set us back in any way. I'm not of that mind, but I think we have very little left. And some of the things that are going to be really important to us may be coming up. And if we don't say something now in some real concrete way, I think we're going to lose our ability to truly weigh in any meaningful way. And that is all I have to say. And of course, if somebody wants to weigh in on how they could see a path moving forward so that we can convey that in a way that is serious in nature, so that it's not just me saying it in this meeting, sounding off to you all, but maybe that's something that we can move to action, because that's what I'm interested in. Can we move in any way forward that puts us in a position where we still have an opportunity to be somewhat partners in this process, or I mean, like, look at what Wendy just said. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep dragging it out, but it never occurred to me. Can you imagine taking the fence off of the ball fields to expand it? Because there is a lot of excess land that there's not being used, and they're probably going to demolish those fences anyway. So I just say that to say, those are the kinds of innovative ideas that if they were to talk to us, maybe we can help them with, because we understand the park and we understand the utility of using the park. And that's it. Sorry. Now I'm really quiet. I promise.
And I think this is where Trevor's suggestion on having a walkthrough would come in handy sooner than later, for sure. So I think that would be best, because then we can address a lot of issues. I mean, I know letter writing is what we do, but ultimately, that is a long, drawn out process. I know there are a lot of things that we would like to address. So we could work on getting something on the calendar for a walkthrough so we can address a lot of these issues.
Yes, and to that point,
Trevor, before you say something, can I just respond to Tara real quick?
Sure.
I guess I agree. I like the walkthrough. The thing I want to say though is that we should think about, like, what is the plan of action for us, so that we don't then think that the plan of action is the walkthrough, but that the walkthrough is the beginning of developing a plan of action. And we should think about, like, time. I'm sorry, I'm an organizer. That's the way my brain functions. That was it. I'm sorry, Trevor.
I mean,
Okay.
and this also ties, I'm sorry, Trevor, I don't mean to jump back, just to respond. This also ties into, I was not at that last portion of last month's meeting, where it did look like you all were considering or talking about the potential of bringing in the local council members. That, do we want to talk about how that, like, bringing them into play so we can start having these conversations around people's concerns with the Esplanade and the
I'm
other
sorry, you said local what members?
local council member electeds?
You know, in the project area, so
Yeah, the
primarily
project. So I guess it would, yeah, it
Rivera,
wouldn't be all
but
three,
also
yeah, it would be
you know,
Martin and Rivera.
Martin Powers.
Yeah, right. I would say in August or September. I'm only saying September because I know a lot of people go away and there's not a lot of meetings, so it's difficult. And not to mention it's 102 real feel outside, but it should cool down. But in any case, I think there's a couple issues. We sometimes have trouble forming consensus, or even on the little things. It takes us months because it's just the way it is. With regards to the Esplanade, the reason why I was saying that that 8 foot wide, whether it could be expanded, is because the Esplanade work has to get done. So I'm just curious as to, beside the ball fields, where the other space might come from, keeping in mind that the Esplanade must be completely demolished at some point. So where would we draw that area from? Just so that when we go in or when we talk to the team, that we have some suggestions for them that are well thought out and then we can all agree on. I didn't think about, I mean, I know Wendy had mentioned taking away some of the ball fields, but I'm sure there's some constraints with that. But is that the only option that we
No.
kind of?
There's other options like that spot north of the track. There's
Wendy, I understand. I'm just saying
that
that
are fenced off
right.
currently. Nobody can get in them. They're, just
but I know-
fallow areas.
Right. But I think
And
we need, Wendy, I agree with you.
I would be willing to meet people on Sunday or Monday morning this week, if you'd like,
Right.
in the park and walk through it. I mean, maybe
Would you just let me finish first and then you can go? I'm not, well, those can meet, but my point is that we need to form some consensus because, as Damaris has said, it's very difficult for us to advocate things if we can't all get consensus on some issues.
Are we waiting for people? Because I want to offer a path forward if possible. So either put me on stock if somebody else is next.
Okay, so it's Christine, Io, and then Damaris.
No, I can totally defer to Damaris because I think she started that idea last time in the CAG meeting where I was not present, but I heard about it. And I think, I support the idea that we need to remind our public officials what the role of the CAG is and to just put some political pressure on this, because otherwise we're just spinning our wheels and wasting our time going to these meetings and being told what's going to happen next without having any input.
I would agree with that and look forward to what Damaris has to say. But as it relates to the walkthrough, I'm going to make a recommendation as part of the path forward. And that is that it take place in August. We will never have a time when everybody is going to be able to meet at the same time. And, the sooner that we do it, the better. I understand about the weather. The weather for example, the third week in August is expected to be between 60 something and 82 degrees. And, if we were to do it earlier in the morning, it would probably be better. But I'm saying the sooner the better because, things are happening every single day. And if we wait until September, so much more will have been done that, we cannot influence any kind of change with regard to. So I'm recommending that we meet in an early morning, not at the break of dawn, maybe 10 o'clock or so, the third week in August. And if, weather changes or, there's fire, smoke or whatever, we do it. But, let's make a decision on that. And also, while I have the floor, Paula, can you send us a copy of the LSB demands, please? or the Lesby request regarding the site and the archaeology?
We didn't draft a letter. We draft a letter for the compost yard, but we don't, that we
No,
weren't
no,
involved.
no, Lesby, not Lower East Side
I
Ecology.
understand, yeah, but I'm not sure what letter you're referring to. We didn't draft any letter. I don't know if we were in receipt of any letter.
Michael earlier, well, whatever it is that you do have that Lesby wants to meet with regard to, if you can send us a list of those things that they are suggested, whether they were rejected or not, that would be really helpful. And if it can be done, you know, just cut and paste today, that would be very helpful. Thank you. That was it for me.
Mine hand's been up, I think, and I'd like to say that many of us are going to go to that, I hope, that waterfront access meeting on Tuesday that I put into the chat earlier, and there's posters in 3 languages. Please spread the word. There's 2 sessions, but I'm serious about trying to look at the park before that, because it could also lead to some new ideas related to that access study. So if I'll know where to find me. I'll be around on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday morning if you want to go walk the park. And many of us who walk the park every day, maybe we can just coordinate a time and go see it. But that's all I have to say. I agree. We need to move fast, and we need to have more advanced participation in the decision-making process if it's to be meaningful.
Okay, Damaris, I think we're gonna give you the last words since it's.
All right, good. Thank you. So this is what I'm thinking, y'all. I think that, everyone is right. We're never going to find the time that everybody can go on a walk. I personally will probably not join any of you on any walk in the East River Park in August because I will be traveling. However, I do think that what we should do is the following. I think that we should plan one and think about accessibility for those CAG members who cannot walk the distance. And then we should let everyone know by when we would love for them to have gone to the park, so that if there are other clusters of the CAG that can't make that walk, maybe they can work together, do a walk through. Maybe we can get a sense from Trevor, the areas that were looked at, so that way anybody or where people are planning to look. And so that way people can go in an organized walk and folks can organize themselves to walk. But I think the next step would be is that we have a follow-up discussion, all of us, to talk about the problem areas and the things that we have found that we would like to move forward or to highlight as a concern or something that we felt, we can address before they move forward, or any of the issues that we're working on. Because we've got it, it doesn't make sense to have a walkthrough if then we're gonna all on our own independently go a rogue and I'm going to talk about this and Wendy's going to talk about that and Diana's going to talk about something else, right? But if we can come to some sort of general agreement around the areas of concern, then collectively we can push those forward. And then the third step would be, and we would have to accelerate this obviously, and I don't know how realistic it is, would be to then talk to the council members united and say, this is what we want. These are the issues that are coming up, and we need your advocacy and your support in going back to the city to ensure that we have the opportunity to, X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is our demands are. So that's what I would do. I would, organize a tour and then have some of the ones self-organized. Let's pick a date by when we want people to, maybe have done that, maybe plan a follow-up discussion, just so we can highlight what we saw, what we thought were problem areas. And then maybe we can sort of, massage that a little bit and then try to have a meeting with these local officials and, be on the same page about what we'd like to push forward and advocate for. I think at this stage, that's probably, the shortest timeline that I could give you outside of writing a letter.
and I think it actually might be more quick than writing a letter, to be honest with you. We did propose.
I wanna just say something, but I think one thing, I don't know, maybe I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I think one thing I think we're all frustrated about is just really this non-agency, if you will, of the CAG, because we're not really asked for input. We're just being told what's going to happen next. And I think on that premise already, that's already something I think we all agree upon. And I would suggest to schedule a meeting with our elected officials. And between now and then, if we can even over email, come up with like some top, maybe just 3 things or 5 things that we can all agree upon, that we will also bring up. But the overarching thing is that we're just coming to these meetings. Was not what the CAG was made to do. It's just sit there and watch another presentation. I'm sorry. And that just has to change. And I think we should schedule that meeting now and come to some sort of consensus. And if it's just that one thing, then I think it's still a valid meeting to go to our electeds and say, we just need to change how the CAG is working.
Can I just weigh in? I appreciate your sentiment, Christine, but these council members are not going to meet with us every other week, every time we have a new concern, right?
No,
So that's why I'm thinking that if we can get our ducks in a row in advance, then we could get the biggest bang for our buck when we do meet with them. And versus just coming together around one issue, maybe if we do just a little bit of that footwork in advance, we can go to them with with multiple issues of importance, and then we're not having this conversation again in 6 months.
Yeah, but I just
and
think the burning issue right now is if we don't do anything, they go and close that Esplanade in October.
But I think can I just weigh in? I agree with everything everyone said. Why can't we just decide right now that we're going to do a walkthrough on this date? This is the date we want DDC or whomever else available to do it with us if we want them with us. All right, that's number one. Why can't we just pick a date like one?
I don't think that's the issue.
Let me just finish. And, have another meeting to discuss the recommendations, and, the irrelevance of the CAG, right, that has to change. And also pick a date for maybe towards the end of August to meet with them, which will force us to actually get our ducks in a row. That to me makes sense, because otherwise we're going to be coming back to talk about the date, to meet, on the site, another date to meet with the electeds, another time to talk about, what our findings are and what we recommend, as a joint group. I'm just trying to push it into a quick.
I think that's what everybody's trying to do. So I think we're all saying the same thing. If we're in agreement that this is a strategy forward, let's agree first on that. And then if we are, then we can pick all the dates that we want to pick, if we can do them now or via email. But let's make sure that this is the strategy that we all agree with before we move forward.
I think it's difficult to pick a date because we need to make sure that team is there. It's a construction site, so we'll need access to sensitive areas. So it'd be nice for us to pick a date, but if they're not going to be there, I don't think it'll be as useful.
Trevor, I hear what you're saying, but they have a responsibility to be there. I'm not trying to say that we should, just be, unconcerned about the fact that they have other things to do.
No, it's not that. It's that people go on vacation. They're not going to change their vacation plans to go on a tour.
No, and I understand that. And so, like some of us who might not be there for the walkthrough, and by the way, I do think in terms of accessibility that we should do some kind of videoing for people who can't be there while we're doing this walkthrough. Some of them will be there and some of them won't, or their representatives will be there or they won't. I mean, but
I just think it's courteous to give them a few dates. That's all.
But yeah, of course. I'm talking about, the third week in August. If they can't figure out who can represent them or who can be there by then, they don't need to be doing this job. But they are supposed to be accountable to us on some level as a community. So I'm saying pick a date for all of the things. The only thing that would be up in the air would be, we would be making suggested recommendations for dates to our electeds. They will determine the date ultimately.
And one thing I wanted to ask or propose is I would like to maybe put something on the calendar just per what Damaris had mentioned for everyone for the group to come back together with their feedback on what they would like to suggest to DDC and the elected officials, since we proposed doing the CAG on the 7th, which was voted down. I could just put a tentative hold for everyone on everyone's calendar for a date for us to talk about all of these issues and how we want to move forward.
Can we pick a date of August? Can we pick a date of August? I don't know, August 16th?
Well, this
Oh,
is
no, like August 16th for the walkthrough.
I understand that, yeah, but I
Okay.
would, yeah, we can pick a meeting
Or
for
17th.
we can pick a few dates, or we can just say we would like, what I think we should probably do is maybe make a request to DDC that we want to meet that third week, sometime in the morning. I'm gonna say, 9, 10 o'clock, again, in the interest of trying to catch it better weather. Just so there's like a bunch of options. So it could just be, we could propose the week of August 14th and see what dates could work.
Tara, just so I'm
But in terms-
understanding you correctly, right? I'm sorry, just for clarity purposes, I'm sorry. You're saying, let's, why don't you just tell me what you're
Yeah.
saying?
So what I'm saying is still this idea of you all doing a walkthrough, and then for those who are not able to do a walkthrough, they will have ample time to do their own thing, or
And that
or
would
get
be the
together their
first
own
thing,
feedback. That
right?
would be the first thing.
Okay,
But as you mentioned, trying to get everyone to meet and talk through what the solutions are, what you all as a CAG want. I think since we had already proposed September 7th as an alternate CAG meeting date, that was voted down.
what was the date again? I'm sorry, September what?
7th. September 7th.
Oh, come on, that's my birthday.
That's why
Okay.
it was voted down, clearly.
That's what it was, that's what it was.
That's why it was voted down. So
Sorry, continue.
So, I mean, we could put a hold, or, I mean, I
Listen,
think.
don't worry about me. We gotta do what we can do.
Yeah.
If just, all right. So
but
that's number 2, right?
That's number 2. So we putting out a request to this, to DDC to have a walkthrough the week of the 14th. Then giving other folks the opportunity to do their own walkthrough if they're not able to, reconvening on the 7th to talk about what everyone observed either at that particular walkthrough or their own walkthrough, and talk about what you all want from the elected officials. And then, and we can then, I mean, I don't think we have to wait until that meeting to then subsequently schedule a meeting with the elected officials. We can actively work on setting up a meeting in advance of that, but setting aside the 7th, since that was already a potential CAG meeting date, to reconvene and get everyone's input. And then hopefully soon after we'll have a date on the calendar for the meeting with the elected officials. And all of this.
Yeah,
before
you
the next
want to also
CAG
pick
meeting.
like a week when we would request this meeting with the elected officials, with the week of the
It would
ILPS.
be after the 7th. So we would we would reach out to them now to try to get that meeting on the calendar, but it would be after September 7th.
Okay, I think that's good. Preferable before the next CAG meeting.
Yes, all of this ideally, hopefully will happen before the next CAG meeting. Particularly, I mean, the outstanding issue would be the meeting with the elected officials. Well, that's the wild card right now. But we would do the meeting on the 7th to regroup from what everyone was able to gather over the course of the next month. And then we'll meet with the elected officials.
All right, so
I like it. So the only real practical and technical issue is how we facilitate the conversation at this meeting where we're bringing our ideas and recommendations forward, and then how we synthesize that information and how we're going to then present it in agreement when we talk to our council members. So as we think about this meeting, we have a lot to do, right? So, you know, we probably want to give ourselves an idea of, you know, how we want to, what we want to do at this meeting, because there's going to be a lot of moving parts. Because unless we're having 2 or 3 meetings, we have to accomplish most of everything at this meeting. That means share our ideas, share our recommendations, make a determination that we're all in agreement with presenting these forward as demands. Does that make sense?
I would only add, Damaris, that the only thing is that there's only 7 CAG members on this meeting right now. So we're
Yes.
discussing some pretty crucial things that folks just aren't going to know about. So I'm just going to add that little wrench to everything, to be honest.
Right. So there may be other issues too that we're not even talking about right now.
Mhm.
Likewise, right? Trevor?
Correct.
Okay.
So, you know, I was at last month's meeting when we talked about it and I made a few notes and I can put them on a Google Doc and send it back to the group so everybody can add to it. And maybe we'll see that there's, because I remember air quality was on it. There are other things that, you know, impacted community across the board.
Well, I just want to caution us to not make this a laundry list of everything, but to make it, you know, to make sure that we're talking about, like, you know, some of the practical utility and design phases that are still ahead of us, that we know that if we don't get ahead of, we're not going to have any real use of this park or any say so for how it's going to turn out. So I just, you know, like, I'm not saying that there's no room for these other things. I'm just saying for this, I just want to make sure that we're practical of that, because I worry that the conversation is going to run away from us. So
I think
I
we
mean,
should
I think we
focus
can
on-
also come forward with that separately, and then those are things we can give to them maybe. But, you know,
Yeah,
mean,
I think, yeah, maybe just like 3 things, you know, main things that we can all agree upon that are really high on our priority list. They're all important, but, you know, yes, I agree. We can't make this into like, because then we just don't get anything in the end.
So why don't we say this, that for the facilitators, I think we're saying we want to walk away from that meeting with a minimum of 3 major areas. It doesn't mean that if time allows that we might not, or if there's also other consensus around other areas, that it can't be more. But that we want to make the most of this time that we're going to have with these council members, especially because this is probably one of the most official meetings we'll be having with them since the formation of the CAG. Right. So we want to make the best of this time. And so yeah, that was what I want to say.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think we have some next steps. Tara and I are going to talk soon, and you'll hear about, you'll get confirmation of our plan moving forward via email. And if you see any of your fellow CAG members, maybe try to catch them up as well. But so I guess I'm going to close out the meeting now, if that's okay with people, unless someone has some burning last thing to say. And Tara, do you want to say anything?
No, nothing. We'll just follow up with email. We'll have, you know, summarizing what we've talked about, and then what our next steps are. We will, you know, initiate the outreach to DDC as well as the elected officials for those subsequent meetings, as well as put a hold on everyone's calendar for September 7th.
I want a cake.
A virtual cake. Everybody. It has to be a virtual cake.